Okay, hi. So this is for college algebra. This is just a little video on how to do some of the questions from chapter 2. Okay, so on chapter 2 you have review exercises. So we're going to look through some of those, okay? And so I'm going to start with number 1, which is asking for you, actually 1, 2, and 3, they're asking for you to find the distance, and the midpoint, between the points that are given. Okay, so for number 1, the point is 3, -1, and Q, -4, 5. Okay, so our distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, now it's kind of a little complicated to try to remember, but you're taking the difference between your x's and squaring them, and the difference between your y's and squaring that, and then adding those together. Okay, so let's see, if we want to label our this is our x1, y1, and this is your x2, y2. Okay, so we're going to have x2 is -4. So -4 minus x1 is 3 squared, plus your y2 is 5 minus your y1, a -1 squared. Right? So this is equal to the square root of -4 minus 3 is -7 squared, right? My signs are the same, so I add the numbers and keep the sign. Plus 5 minus a -1 becomes 5 plus 1, right? Squared, so this becomes 6 squared. Okay, so -7 squared is +49, plus 6 squared is 36, and then 49 plus 36 is, let's see, 49 plus 36, 9 plus 6 is 15, 4 plus 1 plus 3 is 8, so 85. So the distance between these two numbers is the square root of 85. The square root of 85, just going to, I'm just going to see if this can be reduced at all. And so 85 divided by 5, right, is 5 times 17, and both of those are prime numbers, so this can't be reduced in any way, right? So this is my final answer. The distance is equal to the square root of 85. Okay, now your midpoint, right? So the middle point between these two numbers, right? And so how do you find your midpoint? So your midpoint is another point, right? And so what you do is you take your the average of each of your x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So you're taking the average of each of your x values and your y values. Okay. So x1 is 3 plus -4 over 2, and then y1 is -1 plus 5 over 2, right? And then 3 plus a -4 is -1. 3 minus 4 is -1 over 2. And negative 1 plus 5 is 4 over 2. So this is, the midpoint is negative 1/2, 2. Okay. And if you were to kind of draw these on a line, you could see that, right? If I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I go over 3, 1, 2, 3, and down 1, right? So 3, negative 1 is about there. And then I go negative 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 5. 3, 4, 5 is about there. And so that line that connects those two guys. And then so then my midpoint is at about negative 1/2, 2. About there. Okay. Obviously this isn't exactly drawn to perfect scale, but you could see that's about in the middle, right? And then the distance between this point Q and this P is going to be the square root of 85. The distance is equal to the square root of 85. Okay, so that's that first example. All right, and then we can practice another one if you would like. We'll do number 2. So let's see. Okay, so we are going to also do question 2, right? And so just a reminder, we're looking for the distance, right? And our distance is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay? And we are given 2 points, right? So let's see, our points here are the point m, negative 8, 2, and n, 3, negative 7. Okay. So again, I'm going to, this will be my x1, y1, and my x2, y2. Okay. And it doesn't really matter which ones you label as x1, y1 or x2, y2. You just want to make sure you stick with that, the same order, okay, when you're doing it. Okay, so the distance is equal to the square root of x2, so 3, minus negative 8 squared plus y2 is negative 7. So negative 7 minus my y1 is 2 squared. Okay. So my distance is equal to the square root of 3 minus negative 8. 3 becomes 3 plus positive 8. So this is 3 plus 8 squared plus, and then negative 7 minus 2 becomes a negative 9. So plus negative 9 squared. Okay, so this is the distance is equal to 11 squared plus negative 9 squared. So 11 squared is 121 plus negative 9 squared is 81. So my distance is equal to the square root of 121 plus 81 is 202. And so I'm going to just kind of, you know what, going to see if I can reduce that in any way. So the distance is equal to the square root of 202. 202 divided by 202 divided by 2 is 101. I'm going to see if 101 can be divided by 9. Nope, not evenly. So I'm just going to leave it as the square root of 202 then, right? So yeah, that's our distance is equal to the square root of 202. And then I'm just gonna, the final answer is then down here, nice, for my distance. Okay, and then your midpoint, right? So midpoint is, remember we're taking the average of each of your x values and your y values. So x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so your midpoint is x1 is negative 8 plus 3 over 2, and y1 is 2 plus a negative 7 over 2. So we have negative 8 plus 5 is negative 5 over 2, and 2 plus negative 7 is also negative 5 over 2. So that is your midpoint for those 2 points. Okay, and so that's how you do that. So the distance formula, you want to try to remember this. Okay, it's the square root of the difference of your x value squared plus your y value squared. Okay, and then you can just label your x1, y1 and put them into your formula. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Just going through that, and if you would like, we could go over it more when I see you.